Namaskaram to all. The Great India Festival, the Canadian Centre for Mindful Habitats, and Nepean Arts and Culture Association are proud to present this year's event called Samhita, a celebration of multiculturalism. We acknowledge that this event is happening on the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, whose presence here reaches back to time immemorial. We thank all teachers, past, present, and future, and are honored to be on this land. The Great India Festival strives to offer the visitors and residents of the National Capital Region a world-class opportunity to experience and personally learn about the traditions, culture, and heritage of India, and thus promote multicultural understanding, appreciation, harmony, and peace, and enhance intercultural connectivity in Canada. The Canadian Centre for Mindful Habitats' mission is to research and present realistic solutions for living and creating homes and communities that are synergetic and joyful. We aim to create an experience showcasing the benefits of eating healthy food and leading a healthy lifestyle, designing healthy homes, and providing infrastructure for constructive recreation and celebrations, where consciousness to preserve our environment is integrated naturally in the methodology. Nepean Arts and Culture Association mandate is to strengthen communities through the promotion of arts and culture. It is committed to advancing arts, culture, heritage, and creativity to enhance the organization's members' quality of life. Today, June 27th, we are here to celebrate Multiculturalism Day in Canada. Samhita in Sanskrit means to bring people together and is representative in our efforts to bring different cultures across the world together in celebration. As is our custom, we would like to start the event this evening with the customary lighting of the lamp, the Deepa. I would like to invite the following very, very honored guests to join us on the stage to light the lamp. I would like to invite Shri Anshuman Gaur, the Deputy High Commissioner of India, Mrs. Lashinka Dambulae, Councillor of High Commission of Sri Lanka to Canada, Madame Marie-France Lalonde, MP Orleans, Shri Chandra Arya, MP Nepean, and Srimati Nivedita Shila, Master Gardener and Board Member of the Canadian Centre for Mindful Habitats. Please would you join me on the stage. I would also invite our honored guests to say a few words, and I'd like to acknowledge a very, very special guest in our audience today. We have Sri Kuku Kocher with us. He is the patron of TGIF, the Great India Festival, and the president of Phoenix Homes, and he's with us today. Please give him a huge round of applause. So if I could invite Sri Anshuman Gaur to please say a few words.
Thank you. patrons of Great India Festival, honorable members of Parliament, Kocherji. It's an absolute delight to be here for delighting the land for this wonderful multicultural festival that you are about to witness. Samhita, or multiculturalism for us Indians, is not a special celebration but a way of life. And as the Indian community has come and made a home for itself in Canada, it has brought with itself not just one culture, but a multifaceted bouquet of cultures from Canada for you. They add to the dynamism of Canadian life, and we are so proud to see them do well and prosper here. So wishing you all the very best on behalf of the High Commission. I think you'll have a wonderful evening.
I would now like to invite Mrs. Lashinka Damulage, Councillor of the High Commission of Sri Lanka to Canada.
Thank you, and very good evening to all of you. I'm Lashinka Dambalage from the Sri Lanka High Commission, and India and Sri Lanka has very long-standing relations with people-to-people contacts, and our relations goes back to decades. So I'm very proud to be here today to see the performance of multicultural nature, and we have Sri Lanka who is performing here today with the Indians. So I'm looking forward to see their performance, and I wish you all the very best for today's evening. Thank you.
J'aimerais maintenant inviter Mme Marie-France Lalonde, le membre de Parlement à Orléans. Merci.
Good evening. Bonsoir tout le monde. Namaste. Apsuke Seo. I was going to say, I know what I'm saying. I hope you understand at least the accent. I would like to start by acknowledging that we are located on the unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. It is really a pleasure to be invited to the celebration of multiculturalism to highlight the wonderful culture and heritage of our Indian-Canadian community in Orléans, Ottawa, and across Canada. I want to say thank you to Bala and the organizers for the gracious invitation to join this multicultural ceremony of the lighting of the lamp, and acknowledge my friend and colleague, Chandra Arya. I will say, Chandra, welcome to Orléans again. Tonight we celebrate Samhita, which I learned means coming together. And it is in that spirit that we're here together tonight to celebrate our multiculturalism and the contribution the Indian community made here in Orléans, in Ottawa, and across Canada. And for many years, our government and the Indian Canadian community have enjoyed a strong and productive partnership where community leaders and MP have worked collaboratively to deliver positive change that can be felt inside and outside of our community. Diversity of cultures, experiences, and ideas is what makes Canada multicultural and rich. It is a pleasure once again for being here at the beautiful Shankman Heart Center and take part of your celebration. And I also want to recognize the immense work of the Great India Festival organizer that are putting together so many events all across our wonderful national capital. And on that note, and on this day of multiculturalism, I want to say Happy Canada Day, bonne fête du Canada à vous tous.
Merci beaucoup. I would now like to invite Sri Chandra Arya, MP for Nepean.
Namaste. It's a great pleasure to be back for in-person events like this. These things are going on so fast, so quick. It's a pleasure. You know, Canada, we all know that is a multicultural country. Our rich multicultural fabric is enriched by the Indian culture heritage. It doesn't happen automatically. A lot of people have volunteered their time, efforts for years to make this happen. For example, in the audience, I see Nirmala Chopra, who came to Canada 60 years back. And she and her late husband, Shiv Chopra, they worked for the community for decades, 6 decades in Canada. And we have the patrons like Kuku Kochar, who have been supporting a lot of heritage and cultural events for many, many years, I know. And volunteers like Dr. Rashmi Venkateshwaran and Dr. Brala Madaparthi, they too have been working so hard without any commercial benefit, without any expectations. They have been putting their heart and soul to promote our culture and strengthening it further. And we have Peter Naraj, who represents the Caribbean community here and who has been organizing for so many years the cultural events related to, from Caribbean community. Last month, I did host the Asian Heritage Month on Parliament Hill. I can tell you the number of people who responded. For the first time in Parliament Hill, the capacity of 500 was full, and we had to even politely turn away a few people who turned up. 10 diaspora communities performed there. The Chinese diaspora communities, Cambodian, Vietnamese, Taiwan, India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Iran, so many different diaspora communities participated, and it can happen only in Canada. Thank you again for inviting me.
Thank you so much. And absolutely now I would like to invite Shrimti Nivedita Gorpole to say a few words. And if you'd like to stand where you are, or if I can get you a chair, please let us know.
My name is Nivedita Gorpole, and I am here to represent the Center for Mindfulness, the CCMH organization. And I'm glad to say that my friend dear Pallavi and Balaji started it. And the word mindfulness is so important because in today's crazy world, we need mindfulness. It teaches us to be very aware of ourselves, our neighbor, our our community, our nature, environment, and earth. And if we use mindfulness in all our affairs, it's going to make our lives richer and happier. And I have to admire my friend's vision for Pallavi for starting this organization. So both these organizations like TGIF and this organization, they are doing great work. And I hope they have tremendous success in the future. And I wish them well. And I wish all of you do equally well and have wonderful lives. Thank you.
Please give another huge round of applause for all our amazing invited speakers. They're so kind to have taken time on their day to be here with us. Thank you. And now it's my immense pleasure to invite Mr. David Finkel and Ms. Laura Leonard to make a presentation and share with us their perspective from the First Nations point of view. We very, very much look forward to hearing their story. Please give a very, very warm welcome to David and Laura.
Hello, everybody. I can't tell you how honored I am to be here. I'm making my life work here. So that's my better half here. Let me get this chair out of the way. So I'm David. I'm born and raised on Tainanega First Nation. It's Mohawk. It's about 3 hours away from here by car. And as my father's side and my mother's side was Ukrainian, Scottish, and Dutch. So I didn't just have to fight at school, I had to fight when I got home too. It was wonderful seeing the lamp get lit because it was reminding me of what we just did last weekend. Just yesterday, we closed our sacred fire. We had our powwow up near Hunt at Madoki. And we were drumming and dancing. And when we initiate our powwows like that in our ceremonies, we will also start a ceremonial fire, a lighting of a lamp, so to speak, just like you guys. And for the duration of that event, we watch that fire, and people come and offer tobacco for the smoke to go and take the prayers to the Creator, and it will burn for the course of that powwow. So I think it's really interesting, and it just illustrates one of the things that I like to concentrate on, is just how similar we all are. We all have such similar concerns and values. We want to be safe. We want prosperity for our families. We wish to live unmolested and feast together, to dance together, and to come together like this is no small thing for me. It really is a true honor to be here. And you know, not too long ago, there was lots of events like this. Nobody ever really thought to call us. So lately, we've been seeing more of that, and it's very humbling. And I hope that you guys enjoy what we're going to do for you today. We're going to give you guys a little mix of some storytelling, some music, some drumming, some fluting and stuff. So I'll just stop talking for a minute here, and we'll let the music do the talking for us here. Wonderful. Thanks again for having us. Check, check. I thought I went and shut it off. There we go. One of the things we like to acknowledge is all the elements that make this land so beautiful. And, you know, hopefully if I do this right for a minute, maybe we'll forget about traffic jams and sirens and alarms and loud factories and trucks with horns honking. And we'll get a chance to hear how the land is supposed to sound. This was our original radio station. This is what we heard when we would wake up in the mornings. Things like this. And the thunderbirds and the rains would form the streams, giving us some fresh water. In those streams, we would have our wildlife, some of the first life ever to come out of the water. Of course, I'm talking about these little guys. And what's the story with a little bit of danger? The frog has to be careful too. Otherwise, it'll be lunch. We could look to the skies. We can't forget our bird life. mix of some of the different styles of music. We have 76 distinct languages and cultures of indigenous people just in Canada alone. We open them up to the rest of the Americas and you're into the elements. So a lot of ways, a lot of different cultures, just like really anywhere that has a large landmass, you're going to find lots of different people there. So this is a Woodlands traditional flute, and now we're going to do some drumming and some singing for you. So I'll turn it over to my wife here, who has a really nice voice.
I'm going to sing a Algonquin song. David and I are not Algonquin. However, we know a lot of Algonquin songs because we've lived in this area for a long time. I'm Malice from the East Coast, New Brunswick, and as David said, he is Mohawk. So we always like to start with an Algonquin song because we're on Algonquin territory. So this is called the Welcoming Song.
Thank you guys. One thing you might notice about a lot of our songs is they're not always really the most complex, and the reason for that is so that they could be done as a group by everybody in the village, and not like studying for 20 years before you can begin, which I know is a lot of the Indian classical music is very complex of the rhythms and fathers going into the crib and saying diggity da da diggity da. I think that's really cool. And in a sense, my dad kind of did that to me in our way, but it's easy so that everybody could do it. It was accessible, it was supposed to be done as a group. So maybe I'll tell you guys a brief story now, and then we'll close with a song. And maybe when we close with a song, we can get these guys singing, if you guys are in the mood for it. Participation mandatory, right? All right, so storytelling. I want to tell you, before I tell you a story, I want to tell you just how important storytelling was. It was nothing less than our traditional formalized educational system. It wasn't just a way to pass the time before Fortnite and cell phones and YouTube and TikTok. It was, of course, that as well. But what it was a way to educate children to figure out not only how to survive in a completely oral society where we didn't write stuff down, we relied on the memory, and these storytelling contained all the skills we needed to survive in that particular environment. And if you picked you up and put you in a different area, it's a different environment. So a lot of that knowledge that you have might not be as useful. And that's the tough thing about living in new places. I probably don't have to tell a lot of you folks that. So, now we know toddlers don't listen so well, right? I don't know, if your toddlers are listening well, then you know something that I don't. If you say to a toddler, you say, whatever you do, don't play with that sharp knife or whatever. They're gonna run over, they're gonna grab it, they're gonna cut themselves. If you sit that same toddler down and you say, I'd like to tell you a story about a toddler very much like yourself. You play with a knife and they cut themselves. Well, they are going to decide to behave in a specific manner. It's better than just telling them what to do. You've shown them they identify with the character in the story, and based on how things work out for them, they decide to emulate that behavior. So just keep that in mind. This is the way that we did our teaching. It was a very subtle way, but a very effective way of teaching, and it went right over the Europeans' heads when they got here. They thought we had no schools, and well, I don't know how that worked out. Just in 1996, they closed the last residential school. So we didn't really need as much help as I think they thought we needed. But anyways, that's another story. We're going to stay positive today. All right, so many years ago, there was just the animals in the forest. All right? No two-leggeds, just the animals. They all spoke the same language. The boss was Bear. Bear was a good boss because he was strong, he was mighty, he had a very good sense of smell, which was put to the test one particular day when he woke up from a nap and he smelled smoke. Sure enough, it was one of those dry summers. Lightning had struck, it was a fire. So he got up on his hind legs and he roared at the top of his lungs, "Animals, get down to the water's edge as fast as you can. There's a fire. You'll be safe there. The flames won't be able to cross the river." So there was a big stampede of animals. You had frogs hopping, snakes slithering, deer galloping, and they all get down to the water's edge. And at first they're like relieved that they had survived. But their relief quickly turned to sadness when they turned around and they saw their home burning out of control. They're just staring in disbelief. What are we going to do? Well, they just heard this strange sound. Zoom, zoom. They're like, what is that? They looked and they saw. It was Hummingbird. Hummingbird, tiny little bird. His wings flap so fast, that's what he sounds like. That's why we call them hummingbirds. They looked at him and they say, what's he doing? He goes over the water. He gets down to the water. He puts his beak in there and he carries as much water as he could possibly carry. Now, they're little needle beaks, you know, how much water can you think a tiny little bird like that can carry? Not very much. So he just took one drop. He flew over the fire, got down as close as he could. He dropped that drop of water. What happened to the fire? Well, if this was a Disney story, maybe it would go out and we'd sing a song about it because it would be magic water, but this is not a Disney story. What can one drop of water do to a fire? So he went back, he grabbed another drop of water, flew over, dropped it onto the fire. At this point, when I tell young children this story, this is where their heart starts to audibly break. Nothing. If anything, it's growing. But back and forth he goes, drop after drop after drop, placing himself in harm's way, even though it doesn't seem to be working. Well, after a while, the other animals are looking at him. And they're thinking to themselves, what is up with Hummingbird? Is he crazy? Has he lost his mind? It's like, yeah, I know, he's crazy. What's going on? Yo, Hummingbird, what's the matter with you? And before you know it, everybody gets emboldened. And they begin to tease him and taunt him and call him names and make fun of him. But he keeps going. Back and forth, he doesn't let it stop him. Well, after a while, Bear sees what's going on. And well, even though Bear's a leader, doesn't necessarily mean he's smart. Believe me. So he goes, I don't want to see my little buddy get teased, but even I don't understand what he's doing. I gotta put a stop to this. So he gets up on his hind legs, and then Hummingbird's coming to get another drop of water. Hummingbird, what are you doing? Says Bear. Hummingbird stops just long enough to say the words, what I can. So there's gonna come a time where we have to make a choice in our lives. Do we want to be hummingbird? Do we want to be all like those other animals? Because many of us are trying to put those fires out. We are the animals in the forest. The forest is our world. We're the fires. Poverty, racism, war, disease, pollution. Some of us are working really hard. Some of us are making fun of the people that are even trying. So this is just an example. That's a short story. Some of the stories go on for days. I'm not going to tell any of those. You'll get hungry. Thank you very much. I think you should try to get these guys singing. They're too quiet.
Okay, this one's fun. It's called Wichita. And it's about paddling down the river in a canoe. You all know what a canoe is, right? So we're paddling down the river in a canoe, and the river starts to go faster and faster, so our song is going to get faster and faster too. So if you want, you can clap your hands to keep rhythm, or just tap your laps if you don't want to, have sore hands. And we'll see how it goes. Oh, and if we lose our rhythm, that means that we've fallen out of the canoe. We don't want that, no, that's for sure. Okay, so the words go. Wichita, do ya, Wichita, do ya, hey. Wichita, do ya, Wichita, do ya, hey. Wichita, yeah, hey. Wichita, yeah, hey. Wichita, yeah, hey. Wichita, yeah, hey. We'll see. Wichita, do ya, Wichita, do ya, hey. Wichita, do ya, Wichita, do ya, hey. Wichita, yeah, hey. Wichita, yeah, hey.
Yes, thank you very much. These guys got good rhythm. It was hard to stump you guys. She had to throw an extra fast one in there. Okay, so thank you very much for having us. We hope you enjoy a little bit of a cross-section of some Indigenous culture, the way that we talked, the way that we lived, and the way that we did music and stuff. We hope you enjoyed it.
Please stay for one extra moment. Please, all of you, give another huge round of applause to David Twinkle and Nora Leonard for this incredible experience and for sharing it with us today. Thank you so much. I definitely feel honored, and I hope all of you do as well. Thank you so much. It is now my immense pleasure to introduce our next program, Canada Celebrates Folklore. And what better introduction than what we just saw. This is presented by the Canadian Centre for Mindful Habitats and the Great India Festival. The folk stories presented today have come down through many, many generations. They're culturally significant and popular in their respective countries. And they bring out fundamental human values that spread happiness and positivity to all those who listen to them. This program was started last year when 15 storytellers from across the world narrated stories from various countries, and all these narrations have been captured in videos that are accessible on Mindful Habitat's website. And just to give you a little snippet, please watch this video. Technical glitches.
Hi there, I'm Jamie Hay.
My name is Claudia Seguero.
My name is Natalia.
This is the story of Maui and the sun.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that. We received a tremendous response to these videos and have in fact launched volume 1 of the book Canada Celebrates Folklore, which is accessible on Amazon as both a digital and a hard copy. So I really hope you'll all check that out. All the video narrations are available on the Mindful Habitat Habitats YouTube channel and on mindfulhabitats.ca. So it's pretty simple, mindfulhabitats.ca. So please do check that out. I think you're going to be totally amazed. And if you have little kids, definitely you want to expose them to these amazing stories. So I want to, first of all, say thank you to all the incredible storytellers from last year. And I hear that we have a few of them present in the audience today. Could I ask anybody who was a storyteller from last year to just stand up in the audience where you are? Please give them a huge round of applause. I suppose we're all storytellers in our way, but sometimes there's a little something special when some people tell a story. And this is what they have done in this set of stories that we have on mindfulhabitats.ca. We have launched a similar program this year with folktales from more countries. And if you're a storyteller who would like to narrate a story, please get in touch with us. We would be delighted to have you showcased. There is also a call for illustrations for the folk stories presented today and the ones that will be featured on our website. And this call for illustrations is open to all. So there is a link on Mindful Habitats, which you can use to register. You can register as a solo or a group submission with subgroups if you're above or below 18. We hope you'll all participate. That means kids out here, we would love to get submissions from you as well. So please do participate. If you have any kind of an interest in drawing, we would love to have you join us. The selected illustrations will be published in the next volume of Canada Celebrates Folklore book. Now, we have some of our storytellers from this year here with us today to present their stories live. So sit back, we're all going to be children and get to enjoy these beautiful stories. The first storyteller presenting today is Maria Habanikova. She is a Slovak-Canadian professional, public servant, and community organizer residing in Ottawa. She is an active member of the Ottawa Slovak community and a volunteer with the Slovak Spectrum program on Rogers TV. She has been a member of the Ottawa Storytellers Board since 2020 and a Fora's Girls on Boards programs coach for young directors and future board members since 2019. Maria will be presenting a Slovakian folk story called Salt Over Gold. This story is brought to us with the help of director Kate Smith and accompanied by the Fujara audio recording played by Andrzej Stolarik. Please welcome Maria to the stage.
Once upon a time lived a king. He was getting old and weak, so he often wondered which one of his 3 daughters would become queen when he died. It was difficult for him to choose, for he loved them all equally. But finally, he came up with a way to make his decision and had all 3 daughters summoned. My dears, as you know, I'm getting old, I am weak, I am frail. It is time for me to determine which one of you will inherit the crown after my death. And I have decided I will pass the throne along to the one of you who loves me most. So you, my eldest daughter, how much do you love me? I love you, Papa, like diamonds, she replied. Very well, the king said approvingly, and turned to his second daughter. And you, my middle child, how much do you love your father? I love you, Daddy, like gold, she said proudly. Good. Finally, the king turned to his youngest daughter, his third one, Marushka. And you, my child, how much do you love your dad? I love you, Papa, like salt. She looked at him admiringly. Like salt? Ordinary salt that anyone has at home in their kitchen? The king was confused, disappointed, angry. He banished Marushka from the kingdom. Marushka was used to obeying her father, so without saying a single word and with tears in her eyes, she ran away. She climbed mountains, passed through valleys, until she arrived at a small clearing in a dark forest. Out of nowhere, an old woman appeared in front of her. Little did Marushka know, she was a wise witch, a fortune teller. My child, tell this old hag, what's bothering you? Why are you so upset? Oh, old woman, you couldn't help me anyway. Well, try, tell me, perhaps I can offer some advice. So reluctantly, Marushka recounted her sorrows. The old woman understood and invited the young princess to stay with her. In exchange, Marushka learned to help around the house. She helped with sewing and spinning yarn, even weaving, and she tended to the old woman's sheep. Meanwhile, in the kingdom, the king was often thinking about his youngest daughter. But every time it made him sad, he reasoned with himself. So what if I miss her? She loved me no more than ordinary salt. Soon, a feast was to be held in the kingdom in honor of his two other daughters, suitors, princes from near and far. One day, amidst preparations, the main cook ran into the king's chambers, panting, frustrated. My lord, my king, I don't know if this is dark magic or some trick, but there is not one grain of salt in all this kingdom. So, send for more. The king waved him off, disinterested. I would, but there is nowhere to send for it. The salt disappeared from every household, every kitchen in this land. So, cook without it then. There must be plenty of dishes you can make without salt. And with that, the king dismissed him. The cook bowed and rushed away to the kitchen, scouring the shelves for ingredients. Nonetheless, the feasts that followed were bland, tasteless, or too sweet. The guests left their plates untouched and did not return. This salt shortage was like a curse that had befallen the kingdom and the people living in it. People were depressed, they were sad, they were walking around as if in a daze. Even livestock and farmland suffered. Only now the king realized how wrong he had been banishing Marushka from the kingdom, and he finally understood the true value of the gift that salt really was. Marushka, far, far away in the old woman's house, had no idea about any of this misery that had befallen the kingdom. But the old woman was a wise witch, a fortune teller, and she knew what was going on. One morning, she told Marushka it was time to return. But how can I go home when my own father disowned me? Marushka wept. Don't worry, don't cry, it will be all right. Believe it or not, salt is now more valuable than gold to your father and his people in the kingdom. And she told her about all this misery with the curse and the salt shortage in the kingdom. She then stroked her cheek and asked her, young princess, what would you like in exchange for all the good work you have done here? I ask nothing of you but a handful of salt that I may bring to my father as a gift. Since you value salt so much, May you always have enough of it. And with that, she handed Marushka a pouch, a bottomless pouch of salt. After a long journey home, Marushka arrived at the kingdom. Most of her face was covered with a scarf, so the guards didn't recognize her. They almost didn't let her in. Please, let me go see the king. I have a gift more valuable than gold for him. Finally, they relented, and she asked that they bring bread. What's bread without salt? Complained the king. Marushka untied the bag, sprinkled some salt on a slice of bread, and handed it to the king. Salt! Young woman, how can I repay you? Ask for anything. The king did not recognize his own daughter. I ask nothing of you, Papa, but that you love me like that salt. The king nearly fainted of joy. He begged Marushka to forgive him, and she did. Quickly, the word spread around the kingdom that his daughter had returned and brought salt. So Marushka went home to home, kitchen to kitchen, and rationed salt from her magic bag. Without hesitation, the king named her the new queen, and from then on, there never was another salt shortage in the kingdom again.
Maria, thank you so much for this lovely story. Please give Maria another big round of applause. It just goes to show us, right, that sometimes it's the little things in life that matter most. It's a good lesson for all of us. Next, we have Linda Joyce, who will be narrating a story from Scotland. Linda discovered oral storytelling in 2009 after attending a story swap at the National Archives. Linda likes to tell traditional tales, particularly from Scotland and Ireland. Historical stories about Victorian women and 1940s musicians, and sometimes brings her Celtic harp to provide background music. Lately, she has begun to tell personal stories about her British home child father and growing up in Toronto during the 60s. Linda will be presenting the Scottish folk story, The Dream Makers. Please welcome Linda Joyce to the stage.
Hello? Okay. I am the daughter of immigrants from Scotland and England. My father came over in 1925 as a farm worker. Now, after his death, we found out a lot about his story, and my sister and I became very interested in Scotland. She wrote a book, and I started to study Scottish Gaelic. I don't recommend it. It's the most convoluted language ever. But this is a story that was taught to us by our Gaelic teacher in Ottawa. Dream Makers. Morag and the other girls were laughing and telling stories. They were just enjoying themselves as they went off to pick berries. Berries. Strawberries. That grew in the mountains in the Isle of Skye, the island on the northwest side of Scotland. Has anyone been to the Isle of Skye? Yay, we have someone. Me too. So these girls, they had long dresses and they had a shawl just in case it was going to get colder. And Morag, she was lively and energetic, and she said to the other girls, "Let's see who can pick the most berries." And they said, "What is the prize?" She said, "No prize, just glory." And they all laughed. But Morag was serious about picking the best berries. And she started to look. They had their baskets and were filling them up. And she noticed that as she went further, that the berries were better and there were more of them. So she started to go pick faster and move forward and move upward. And then she looked around. All her companions were gone. She was lost. And as she was wondering what to do, the weather changed as it does do in the mountains. It became colder, the wind blew, and a mist came down. The Isle of Skye is noted for its mountains and mist and mystery and magic. She could not move. She dare not move. If she moved and she by accident stepped off a crevice or off a side, she would be hurt. So she stood perfectly still in the mist, wondering what to do. And then she felt a presence. You know how sometimes you can't see anybody, but you can feel them, that they're near you? And she felt some buddies all around her. She was a bit nervous, but she didn't feel that they were threatening her. And so she waited, and then suddenly the wind came and the mist moved, and she saw they were deer. She was surrounded by deer. And they gently nudged her as if they wanted her to go in a particular direction. And she decided they didn't show any ill will towards her, so she might as well follow. And they nudged her forward and forward, and she went down the mountain a little bit until they came to a cave. She looked through the darkness in the cave, and there were two people there, an old man and an old woman. She went closer. They were not an old man and an old woman. They were ancient. The woman looked up. "Oh, you have finally come, Laura. How did you know my name?" "I've been waiting for you a long time." The old man sat in a corner and looked at a pool of water on the floor of the cave. "Maura," said the old woman, "you have some warm deer's milk and have a little sleep, and we'll talk in the morning." And Maura did. She was very tired. Well, the next morning, Maura said, "I'll help you with all your chores, and then I'll go home." And the old woman said, "Oh no, we've waited a long time for you. You must stay for a year and a day." A year and a day? She thought of her family, her friends, but it seemed important that she learn what she could from the old woman. Later that morning, after milking the deer, they went down into the glen and picked some fine herbs. And then she boiled the milk on a fire, put the herbs in it, and they made a kind of cheese which is called crowdy. And the old woman took some of the cheese and squished it in her hand so it made different shapes, and she handed them to the old man. "What are you doing?" said Maura. "Oh, we're making dreams." Well, dreams and nightmares too. Both of those are required. Both of us teach us things. "You make dreams here? For everyone?" "Oh yes, we've done it for many, many years." "Well, how do you get the dreams to people?" "Oh, the birds take them." And so the old man fashioned a few shapes. He went to the mouth of the cave and he held out his right hand. And wrens and larks and falcons came and picked the shapes from his hand. "Those are the dreams," said the old woman. And then he took some crowdy in his left hand and made shapes and held out his hand. Then the vultures came and the crows. "Those are nightmares," he said. And so Maura stayed with them for a year and a day, and she learned the secrets of dreams. She learned to pick herbs, which ones were good for different purposes, and she learned to be kind to the deer. And then the old woman said to her, "You may leave now. You have fulfilled your apprenticeship. It's been a year and a day." Well, Maura didn't want to leave. She was used to the old couple and she was used to their way of life. It was very peaceful. But so it must be. The old woman said, "I will send one of the deer with you to show you the way back." And so she followed the deer. She went down the mountain, down to a beach on the shore. But it was a place she'd never been before. Why were they taking her here? And then she saw in the distance a very small boat with a lone figure in it, coming closer and closer, and finally landing on the shore. And there was a young man in that boat. And Maura looked at him. "I've seen you somewhere before," she said. "And so have I seen you. I've been dreaming about you every night." "Oh," said Maura, "that's where I've seen you." And it was preordained that those two should marry and become a couple. And so she went into the boat, and they sailed to another island nearby. And there Morag and her prince lived for many, many years. And Morag became very wise and was able to teach all her people about the importance of dreams and the meaning of dreams. And they passed it on to their children, and they passed it on to their grandchildren and their great-great-grandchildren. And it's probably still there too. But we don't have this knowledge, so we have to have stories.
Please give a huge round of applause. Now next, we have Raquel Sutherland, representing Jamaica. Raquel Sutherland has been an actress, storyteller, dancer, and educator in Jamaica, England, and Canada. Raquel is currently serving as a volunteer on the board of directors for the Ottawa Storytellers. She strives to push her own perceived boundaries with regards to each performance. Please welcome Raquel to the stage.
Good evening, my neighbors. Good evening.
Good evening.
Right, because I am from Jamaica, right? So this is the lovely colors. Yes. And if I don't say good morning to my neighbors, my grandmother used to give me a piece of, you know what you call beating? Well, she would give me a piece of assling. So, good evening, my neighbors.
Good evening.
Look here, I'm going to leave, you know. You see, if you don't tell me good evening, I am going to leave because I don't want my grandmother to give me no assling. So, let's try it again. Hello, good evening, my neighbors. Good evening. Yes, with the sound arty. Yes, so my story, you see, is from Jamaica. I wrote the story. And it is about mongoose and the calabash. This is a calabash. Yes, who asked what is a calabash? This is a calabash, sir. So, in Jamaica, now these calabash can grow very, very long. And when we take the calabash, we used to put, you know what you call suitcase? Well, we call it grip. We call it grip, and we used to use the calabash, and we put all sorts of clothes inside of it. Okay? So this is a calabash. Say calabash. Calabash. Is what wrong with these people doing? Say calabash. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes. Now this is a calabash. water, you put your food, you put clothes, you put everything in it. Now, what you call Mr. here, we say Mass. So if your name is Mr. Bedwood, we call it Mass Bedwood. We put everything and twist it into our own. Okay? So if you hear me say Mass, it means Mr. Right? Wanna get it? Wanna follow me? Alright! Yes, man, I love them people here. I need to come back next year. No. Anansi, you ever hear about Anansi? Oh, yeah. Well, Anansi the spider is a trickster. Anansi will trick everybody. See, if you don't have hair on your head, Anansi will trick you and take it away. And when you don't have the head, Anansi trick you and take it away. Well, and him have a son named Kwaku. Say Kwaku. Kwaku. Kwaku himself was a thief. Because if the father is a thief, the son is going to be a thief. You think so? Yes, thief man, very thief, for true. Now, the calabash, you know about Mass, and you ever hear about riverbank? Okay. So riverbank, it's, you say river bank, we say riverbank. R-I-V-A, not R-I-V-E-R, R-I-V-A, river bank, right? So we go down to the river bank. It's called the river bank. The river bank is, you know, like right here is the water, and right here is the bank. That's the river bank. It's just the side of the river. Yes, but we call it a river bank. Yes, and so now you learn about the river bank, you learn about the calabash, and you learn about the Mass. And you learn about Kwaku and Anansi the trickster. And Mongoose himself, now Mongoose, who the story is about, is also a thief. Mongoose would thief any food from every and anybody. Okay? Right. So in Jamaica, we have our own language. You know how you guys in Canada say hello in English and bonjour in French? Well, we say wagwan. So wagwan. That, yes, man, wagwan. That means hello. Yes, we exaggerate everything. Everything. So wagwan. Yes. And when we say goodbye, we say ta-ta. You see? Ta-ta. Yes. Not hello, not bonjour, not wagwan. Yes, ta-ta. Ta-ta. So wagwan. Alright, so now I don't know all of my story. Thing now. Time to tell your story. And before I tell you the story, I will say crick and you say crack. And when the story ends, I say, why a bang? And you say, story end. Ah, that's my daughter over there. She knows it. I tell them all the time, these stories. So let's try it. Crick. Crack. Now story begin. Now long ago, Mongoose used to be a thief. He would go around the village, steal people food, put it in his calabash, go down to the riverbank and hide it. Now Anansi had a son named Kwaku. Kwaku was also a thief. He would go down to the riverbank, thief Mongoose calabash, eat up the food, drink up the river water, and wash it down. So Mongoose decided that he wanted to find out who was stealing his food. So he went out to all the villagers and he said to them, anyone who find out who is stealing my food, I will give them a hefty sum of money. But no one paid Mongoose any mind. For Mongoose was a Mongoose was a thief. So nobody paid Mongoose any mind. Because like they say in Jamaica, a thief who thief from one thief, God laugh. I bet you never catch that. Let's go again. A thief who steals from another thief, God laughs. Yes. So Mongoose, nobody paid him any mind. For a thief who steals from another thief, God laughs. Yes. So nobody paid Mongoose any mind. So Mongoose decided to set a trap for himself. So Anansi's son named Kwaku He went missing one day, and Anansi knew that Kwaku must be the one stealing the food. So Anansi went down to the riverbank, and Anansi started to tremble. Anansi started to cry because Anansi's son Kwaku was hanging from the tree. He was caught in Mango's trap, and Anansi started to cry because the blood was running to his head. And Anansi started to bawl. That's what we call cry. And Anansi started to weep, for he knew that before the sun set, he had to get his son out of the tree. So Anansi, being the trickster, he came up with a plan, and he said, I know that Mass Bedward is cooking some chicken in the kitchen. So I'm going to tell Mongoose. And he said, Mongoose, I hear that Mass Bedward cooking some chicken in the kitchen, and he said to tell you that you must come for some. But Mongoose never paid much attention, for he never remembered that Anansi was a trickster and he might be playing a trick on him. Mongoose ran off to Mass Bedward house. Well, Anansi cut his son down from the tree. He took up Mongoose calabash and he ran home. Mongoose ran into Mass Bedward kitchen and he took out one of his fat piece of chicken. And as he was about to eat it, Mass Bedward came out with a long piece of bamboo stick, and he said, Mongoose, let go off of the chicken. And Mongoose gallop, and Mongoose run off into the wild, and he run off into the wild, and Mass Bedward running after Mongoose. And Mongoose went off into the wild, forgetting that he left his calabash with his food, and he went off into the wild to eat rats, snakes, frogs, little chickens, and everything. So anytime you see Mongoose nearby, Mongoose will run from the humans, because he thinks that Mass Bedward is coming after him. Now the moral of the story is, but enough for thief. Oh, sorry. You must not steal. Don't steal. Don't steal from anyone. If you want something, you should ask for it. These are good storytellers. You need to book them. Yes, ask for it. Don't be like Slime and Goose, whose name gonna proud. Slime and Goose, your name gonna proud. Mongoose stuck in that Bedward kitchen, take up one of him fat chicken, put it in a him waistcoat pocket. Slime and Goose, Slime and Goose, your name gonna proud. Slime and Goose, your name gonna proud. Mongoose stuck in that Bedward kitchen, take up one of him fat chicken, push it in a him waistcoat pocket. Slime and Goose.
Raquel Sutherland, please come back out onto the stage, and Fana Soro, please join her. You had live drum accompaniment on the djembe by Fana Soro, and if you're here and lucky enough to stay for the 8 o'clock program, you'll see more of Fana. What a fantastic duo, all done on the spot. Please give them a huge round of applause. That was brilliant. I want to hear more stories from Raquel. That was absolutely fantastic. And all storytellers should be as energetic and absolutely bring the story to you as Raquel did. So thank you, Raquel. That was absolutely fantastic. And last, and a very special treat for all of you today. Coming onto the stage today, we have Shri Kushal Mehra. He's the host of the Chanvaka podcast. The Chanvaka podcast is India's most popular podcast on economy, politics, geopolitics, religion, history, social issues, and current affairs. Kunal Mehra talks with experts from different fields. He is a dharmic skeptic who finds doubt elevating. His primary interest lies in redefining Indian skepticism via Indian epistemological categories. Please welcome Shri Kushal Mehra to the stage.
Namaste everyone. Boy, that was a tough act to follow. I did not know I was going to follow that. So I'm going to try my best. I'm coming to Canada after 8.5 years. First time ever I came to Canada was in the year 2000, and I want to share my first sentiment when I came here. And I mean this seriously. I actually felt this looks a lot like home. And let me explain why. I come from India. I was born and raised in Mumbai. And when you live in India, you don't understand or maybe digest what pluralism or multiculturalism is because it's in your face all the time. Right? I live in Mumbai. So Mumbai primarily is a part of a province called Maharashtra. Maharashtra is a Marathi culture. But inside Maharashtra, I was born in an area which was Gujarati. And I'm ethnic Punjabi. So when I used to go to school, so I could speak Hindi, I could speak Gujarati, I could speak Marathi, English, and a few other languages because my best friend was from a part of Gujarat which is called Kutch. It's not a written language, it's only a spoken language, so it's Kutchi. So I was used to so many languages, and then when I went to kids, I came here and I saw, okay, these guys are very similar to me. And I want to pick up something, when you gave the hummingbird analogy, immediately took me back to the Bhagavad Gita. And when Sri Krishna says, Karmane Vadikaraste Ma Phaleshu Kadachana, the hummingbird was actually following the footsteps of Krishna. What does Krishna say or mean when he says Karmane Vadikaraste Ma Phaleshu Kadachana? Krishna is saying, you have to have a goal in mind, but you have to focus on the action. Because if you obsess on the goal, you're going to forget the action. The hummingbird had a goal in mind. The goal was, touch the fire. But what the hummingbird was doing was focusing on the action. Now, I guess Krishna and the hummingbird have something similar. So this takes us to multiculturalism. That here are two different cultures from completely different parts of the world, but the message is so similar. Now, I'm usually a listener. I'm not a storyteller. I host a podcast where people come, and I usually ask them questions, and I just shut up for 25 minutes, and they speak. So this is kind of interesting for me. But today, I do want to talk about a great Indian epic. In Sanskrit, we call it Itihasa. So I want to talk about a very short story within the story in the Ramayana. This is from the 6th chapter of the Ramayana, which is called the Yuddha Kanda. So Yuddha in Sanskrit means war. So this is let me set it up for you. So Lord Rama has won the battle against Ravana. And there is this stage where Lord Hanuman is having a conversation with Ma Sita. And Lord Hanuman tells Ma Sita, you've been traumatized over here, so if you give me permission, I will take action. And Ma Sita, within the story, tells a shloka. And the shloka itself is a story. And the story is of a tiger, a hunter, and a bear. So the story goes like this. A tiger is pursuing a hunter. The hunter is running away from the tiger, and as the hunter runs, the hunter climbs a tree. Now on the tree, there is a bear. So the tiger is downstairs, looking up nicely. And the tiger first approaches the bear and says, "Hey bear, why don't you push the hunter down for me? You know, we could cut a deal. It sounds like a plan." But the bear refuses. Then the tiger goes to the human, the hunter. And he tells the hunter, "Hey hunter, offer's still open. Why don't you push the bear down?" Now this is what the hunter does. He tries to push the bear down. But then the hunter is a hunter. Right? He's not as strong as the bear. He could not push the bear down. The tiger gets slightly hurt. And then he tells the bear, "Listen, bear, that guy tried to push you down. I think you can now push him down for me. What do you think about that?" Now I'm going to read something because I want to be very accurate here. And I want to precisely state what the bear states. And the bear says, "The wicked acts committed by others are evil committed by others. They do not touch you. A pledge must be honored. For virtuous people, good conduct constitutes ornaments." Now, what do we learn from this? You know, if we talk about multiculturalism, first of all, what we learn from this, if you ask me, is that we should learn to accept each other. We should learn to understand each other's point of view. And maybe we should honor each other's word a lot more and respect each other. Now, on an end, look, I can't come from India and I just talk about Ramayana. I started with the Bhagavad Gita, went to the Ramayana. Now I'm going to talk about Bhagwan Mahavir, Jaina. Because India, we have multiple, what we like to call darshanas, which are sources of knowledge or ways of looking at or insights. So I want to end with a philosophy or a school which is called Anekantwad, which is basically a multiplicity of viewpoints. Now, honestly, it is surprising that this was said, I think, 3,000 years ago by Bhagwan Mahavir. So what Anekantwad says was that the truth is complex. We live in this world, nowadays we have social media, unfortunately I'm also there, guilty as charged, so before I talk about it, we are being forced into binaries. We're being forced into you're in camp A or you're in camp B. You're either here or you're either there. Now what Anekantwad teaches us is, maybe the truth is a little complex. Sometimes we may not have all the answers. And they come up with a sevenfold system, which is called the Saptabhanginaya. It was written, and here's how the sevenfold system goes. So, it's called affirmation. In some ways, it is. Now think about it. If you're looking at a problem, yeah, you can say in some ways it is. Or it could be denial. In some ways, it is not. Joint but successive affirmation and denial. In some ways it is, and it is not. Joint and simultaneous affirmation and denial. In some ways it is, and it is indescribable. Now, as I'm reading this, I want you guys to just think about how many times in your life have you been in situations where you've not had the perfect answer, but you don't know why you don't have the perfect answer. And that's the whole point. I'm not going to read this all 7 of them, but what I want to say is that we're being forced to be in a position to judge each other constantly. Group A, Group B, Group C, Group D. But what is beautiful about stories is, today you've had so many different cultures stating so many different stories. But there was one underlying theme in all of them. That was acceptance, not with tolerance, but with mutual respect. Mutual respect is what I want to leave you all with. Think about it. Just imagine, when we say we are a very tolerant society, imagine you're with your wife or you're with your friend and you say, I'm going to tolerate today, I'm going to tolerate you on the dinner table. Would you tolerate people on the dinner table? Would you? And how do you think the person is going to respond to you when you say, I'm tolerating you today, man? You're my good friend, let me tolerate you. So what we actually mean is equal respect or mutual respect. And multiculturalism, the bedrock of multiculturalism, is mutual respect. So I will leave you guys with that thought. As you know, I'm not a storyteller, I'm a listener. So I apologize to you, but I want to thank all of you for giving me this opportunity. And I want you guys to think about this when you go back home, that would you want tolerance or do you want mutual respect? Thanks a lot.
Please give it up for Kuchin Mehra. What a fantastic way to end our session today. And so true. Let's all think about that and remember that we don't want to be only tolerant, but we want to be accepting of all the people around us and all the cultures around us, because everybody has something so valuable to share. And every time we share and accept with respect the culture of the people around us, we become the richer for it. So hopefully that is a little message that we can all take home with us today. So this puts an end to the first part of this program, which is the Canada Celebrates Folklore program. And I want to once again ask you to join me in giving a huge round of thanks to all the incredible storytellers who came here today to share their stories and their cultures with us. And as I said at the beginning, in a sense, we're all storytellers. And I hope that you'll let the inner child in you hear the stories and respect and accept those stories from all the people around us. We will now be serving a multicultural, all-vegetarian dinner, and it's available to all our guests. So please do enjoy it. The dinner will feature food from countries presented during last year's and this year's Canada Celebrates Folklore program. So there's a small advisory there. Please be advised that the food does contain nuts, dairy products, and gluten, and there may be an egg wash in the spring rolls. We have spring rolls from China, spanakopita from Greece, pierogies from Ukraine, biryani and gulab jamun from India, and baklava from Egypt. We hope that you enjoy your meal. We will see you back here at 8 promptly, so you can sit back and enjoy the brilliant cultural program that is going to follow. Do please remember not to leave any belongings in the hall while you're having your dinner. The hall will be locked during that duration. For those who do require it, we will have a few seats available to be able to sit down and eat. If you see anybody that needs a seat, please be kind and let them have a seat. Thank you so much. Enjoy your dinner, and we'll see you back here at 8 o'clock.